Y'all are all my children now. Hello, how you doing? This is Perry from the Art Hitman. How's everybody doing today? Welcome back. I'm going to be drawing Freddy. As you see, I've already started out with an outline. And the reason I started out with that is simply because usually when you rough out things, you kind of want everything in place. And this is kind of one of the more advanced drawings. So I just went on ahead and had that outline so you guys could kind of see where my starting point is. And if you notice, I sped things up a little bit just because it's labor intensive when you're doing detailed drawing like a character like Freddy, and you got his pizza face mug. No pun intended, but he does have a disfigured face. So when I work on this, it's going to be a lot of detail. As you see, I'm roughing in the details of his eyes, nose, and you're doing his facial features, his mouth, and working that in. And definitely subscribe, and I definitely appreciate those that are already with us and have been with us for a while. And those that are new to the Art Hitman, definitely appreciate you for stopping by. Please like, comment, and subscribe. As you know, honestly, Freddy is one of those more interesting characters to work on, simply because he has so much character in his face, and he smiles a lot. So he's one of those characters that has an agenda. We all know him. We should know him by now. Those of you who don't know, you might want to stop by the history of Freddy, and that's something that we have here on the Art Hitman channel. The history of, so Freddy will be in there. But right now I'm detailing and going into his teeth and things like that, taking my time. And if you notice, I'll erase as I'm going along. Whenever you're doing an illustration, never be afraid to draw with the eraser. It's sometimes I'll call it the reverse pencil or lead technique. You can actually draw with your eraser. Your eraser pretty much does what it needs to do in regards to, let's say if you go too heavy or there's a lot of shadow and you just need to get in there and kind of, erase that shadow out and put a highlight in there. And if you notice now, I'm starting to add some of the roughness of his face from his horrific scars and burns that those parents, that angry mob of parents did to him when they burned him alive in that boiler. In that building. And as you can see, whenever I'm laying a detail in, I'm lightly putting it in. Freddy's face pretty much is a bunch of hatch marks. Hatch marks, for those of you that don't know, hatch marks are a bunch of repeated lines to kind of give a halftone. When you repeat that over and over again, you get a texture kind of look, a rough surface, or whether it be shade or something like that. And hatching is good for this type of detail. And just for a sidebar question, how many of you Freddy Krueger fans are out there? Definitely let me know. And I say he's out of my top 5, he's the second. My first is Jason Voorhees. Someday I'll be drawing him at some point as well. Why not? Getting a detail done in his neck. I add a little bit of detail underneath his nostril, just so that it can give a little bit more depth, so that he breathes. Sometimes you have artists who just put the shadow there and don't put the indentation of his nostril. We need to know that he's breathing, figure that he's actually alive. And wrapping out the shoulders here, and now I'm beginning the shading. Again, it's sped up for you guys so that you kind of see what I'm doing, but not every waking moment of it. It could be arduous, really labor intensive, and I'm using the side of my pencil. Let me explain the technique that I'm doing here. When you use your point, you can't cover as much area as you see me doing here. I'm going in and I'm using the side of my pencil, and I'm covering a wide range of areas here with his hat. As you can see, it doesn't take very long. You can kind of go from side to side, back and forth really quick. a lot of fun too, because when you draw with the side of the pencil, for some reason it feels a bit more marginalized, like you have more control, as opposed to when you're doing something with the point. With the point, it's kind of more tense and rigid, and you don't have as much creative freedom with it. It restricts you. As I always like to say, I'm always mindful of whatever background noise you may hear. I do apologize about that. As I said before, I try to record anywhere that I can, so please forgive me on that. And that's just in case you hear something out of nowhere. Maybe one of my children kind of make noise or something like that. And if not, I'm lucky. I can say that when I'm doing these drawings, it's challenging to try to not have background sounds and things like that going on. But if I get a clear one, my fingers will cross the whole time, trust me. And if you notice, I kind of went with a flatness of his hat. There's no real highlight to it, so it's just all shading. And I'm beginning detailing his finger, or his hand, if you will. His what do you call his claw? It's been called a claw, kind of like for information purposes. The creator, when he created it, dealing with creating Freddy Krueger. Just give me one moment. Almost have him stabbed in his own eye there, so I moved that blade over. Wes Craven, when he created Freddy Krueger, actually compared him to a saber-toothed tiger and his cat. So he was saying basically when the cat was clawing at his couch one day, he noticed that the cat was clawing and kind of got the idea for what Freddy's hand should look like. So, and also with the saber-toothed tiger and the claw as well, and just transpose that into a human hand. So that's kind of where he got the gauntlet, if you want to call it that, Freddy's hand, when he came up with the idea for the knives on the glove and everything and all that tied together. So that's just a bit of a fun history fact for you there, giveaway. And if you notice, as I'm going into his glove, I ran into his hat. So as I said before, you can go back in, you can draw with the eraser, see that? And you can cut a highlight into the hat. There you go. His blade is there, visible. And so those are the magical things you can do with your eraser when you're drawing. And I have to be honest, this is I've drawn Freddy many times, but the other times that I did draw him was more on a comic book illustration level, and with this I went halfway there. It's not 100% let's say photorealistic, but it's in between that and kind of comic book form. So more or less like it's somewhat realistic, but I give myself a little bit of creative freedom. And I got his pinky going on here, and his pinky is going somewhat further back into space, so I'm going to shade that in. I will say that Freddy Krueger ended up being the most interesting character when it comes to his gauntlet or his glove with knives on it. Simply because it's distinguishable from all the other horror characters that were out there. I did know that Wes Craven wanted to make Freddy Krueger, the character, stand out. As we all know, you have Leatherface, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with his chainsaw. You have Jason Voorhees with the machete, or his axe. He uses quite a bit of different things whenever he gets his hands on, but primarily the machete he's known for. So with Freddy Krueger, he wanted to make sure that Freddy was a standalone horror figure, and Wes Craven made history with that. I'll tell you what, he definitely made history, because Freddy Krueger, I know when I first saw him as a kid, I was probably about 8 or 9 years old when I first saw A Nightmare on Elm Street, but he was the most horrifying character I ever saw. You know, with those knobs and the screeching sound that it makes and all, and the kids jumping with the rope, you know, singing Freddy's anthem, as I'll call it. And you know, so he made it. He's one of those horror characters that was there to stay. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He had a lot of knockoffs that didn't quite make the cut, but Freddy's still around, and as I understand it, they're going to be making a new one soon. So, but I appreciate everybody stopping by, and you know, I just love doing these drawings and love teaching, and leave in the comments who you want to see next. As I'm wrapping up, I will say on that note, thanks for stopping by, and keep on drawing.